am Claudia Brown Hutchins.
And I'm Marion Smith Chamberlain. And Claudia is my something,
Cousins. We're cousins, distant cousins.
twice removed, we
Yes.
think. Okay.
And this is Cool Springs Cemetery, where we both have relatives. So we're going to visit our relatives today.
And I've been looking forward to this. I didn't think it would ever really happen.
I know, I didn't think so either. I was beginning to think, Nicky's not ever going to get down here.
And you know,
All right,
there
we go.
must be, how many graves here you think?
I have no idea. I've never counted.
Well,
There's a lot.
It's a small cemetery.
It is. It is small.
Yeah.
But a lot of it belonged to us, as far as we're concerned, even though we don't.
So it's a family cemetery.
There's a lot of speculation. We have been told that to be in here, you had to have a connection to the city of Atlanta. Now, I don't know if that's true or not,
Well,
as far
it's-
as being a worker.
I
But a
thought it-
lot of these folks did.
I
So
thought it belonged to the city of
it
Atlanta.
does. But
But there's some church name connected to it.
yeah, there is a church name, and we don't know how it all works together. But right here are the graves of John W. and Nancy M. Scott Hughes.
And
and this
he,
is-
he was who?
He was the father of James W. Hughes and Julia L. Hughes Smith and
Who
nine
was
other
my
children.
grandmother?
Right, she was your grandmother,
Uh-huh.
and James W. was my great-grandfather. If we look over here, this is one of the mysteries that I hope Nicky can help solve. Porters. I know they're ours, but I'd like to know who Jefferson and William L. Porter are and what their connection is. They both died on the same day. One of them obviously looks like it was probably
That's unusual.
father and son or grandfather and grandson. The baby
Well, the
was
baby was
just tiny.
just 6
Not-
months old.
Well, a little bit older, from 1931 to 1932.
Well, that's true.
So about 18 months old.
Yeah.
And
Well,
then,
that was pretty common back then.
yeah, but what happened that they died the same day
No,
and are buried side by side?
could have
That's
been
a
an
mystery.
accident of some sort.
All right, this is,
Can you make that out? Where's that paper towel you had?
infant, son of J.W. and M.E. Hughes. So this is a child of James and Mary Elizabeth that died. It looks like maybe the same day, or lived 3 days, December 26, 1887, December 29th, 1887. So lived 3 days.
Not very old.
Not very old. All right, this is Dana and Josie Hughes. Dana was a younger brother to Julia and Mary Elizabeth. He was the
Pardon?
youngest boy.
What, there 14 children?
No,
that
there were
time?
11 children.
11.
And he married Josie. I think her last name was Davis. She
It's
was a
spelled
widow.
funny. Look at Jossie.
Uh-huh. And she lived with one of the sisters. I found it in the census record. She was living,
She died in 1947.
and I think Dana met her through that connection, and they married. Josie had one daughter from her previous marriage, whose name was May. And May, I think, moved to Florida, and then we don't know what happened to her. I can't find anybody that knows. Now, the next one in this line is our Confederate. And I'm still trying to find a lot of information on him.
He was in the artillery.
His name is, this says T.Y. Hughes. I think his name actually was Tolliver Hughes, and I think the Y may stand for young, just from looking at old census records. That's a name that was in the family going back a long way. He served with Company I in the 28th Georgia Artillery for the Confederacy. I have done a little bit of research on this, and he actually started out with Phillips Legion here in Georgia. And he got sick right after he got in, And they put him in the hospital, and then they sent him home on furlough. And after he got well, they listed him as being AWOL because he didn't come back to Phillips. But he ended up going over to Charleston and joining this group.
Mm-hmm.
And he fought with them. And there are records that show that he was still AWOL at Appomattox, but it lists him as surrendering at Appomattox and list him as a T.L. Hughes, and I think they spell it H-U-S-E.
Mm-hmm.
This one, I don't know what it is.
Do you know his parents?
His parents, yes. He's the oldest of John and Nancy Hughes.
So he was Julia's
Oldest brother.
oldest brother.
No.
Oh,
No.
really?
He was Julia's oldest uncle.
Oldest
This
uncle.
is John and Nancy. It was Tolliver and John S.A. and Susan and James W. and Julia Ann.
Mm-hmm.
And there may be some more. I'll have to stop and
Do
think.
you know what that
I don't
is?
know what that one is. I would like to know. But I don't know that it's readable. Is there anything on it?
Have you ever used that little thin paper that I've used before?
Rice paper?
Rice paper?
Yes, I have.
I think whatever was on the top of the
It's
book
worn off.
Yeah. But there feels like there was something down here, but not much. I don't know what it was. But for this line, let's go back this way.
This is all Hughes.
These are all related to the Hugheses.
How many people come down here on July the 4th?
Oh, it varies, but it's got to
you
be
have
at
a lot
least
of help?
75 to 100. Now,
How
these
many?
are two more, Nikki, that I would like us to try and research, or three more, and find out how they fit in here, because they belong to us too. Willie, Ralph, and Bessie Sherrill, and Seabird Porter. Now, that one I found on the census records. This is Julia Ann and her husband Logan, okay? This is who your grandmother was named after, okay?
Was that her mother, her sister?
This was her,
aunt, maybe?
yeah. She was the, let me get this straight. Julia Ann Hughes Porter. She was John and Nancy's daughter, okay? And these are some of her grandchildren that are laying here between her and her mother and daddy,
Mm-hmm.
okay? This is one of her grandchildren, or it may be one of her children. The Porter name, these are her kids that passed away.
Mm-hmm.
And that was Seabird and Helen. Now these are Hudsons, and they are the children of Floyd, and Floyd was a daughter of Julia Ann. Okay, so we're still in the same family. This is Freddie. This is an infant son. This is Roy, a son-in-law, and this is Floyd. That's her daughter. She used to be a Hughes. Well, she was a Porter. Floyd Porter Hudson. But she is a daughter of Julia Ann and Logan Porter. And Julia Ann is the daughter of John and Nancy Hughes.
You know a lot.
No,
Claudia.
I get it confused. I have to go look at my papers a lot of the time. All right, now down here, this is going to be more that I know of. Here's another one for us to research. I don't understand why this one's stuck in here. Who in the world is James
Dickerson.
Dickerson? Or James
Oh,
J.
that's Confederate.
Yeah, he was a Confederate. I haven't done any research on him, but I need to get a picture today of that and get that information, see if we can find out who he was and why he's plopped down here in the middle of all of us, if there's a connection, because everybody else, for the most part, there's still a couple that I'm still trying to figure out. All right, here are I refer to these as our Cool Springs babies.
It's the what?
The Cool Springs babies. I have done that my whole life. And the stories that have swirled around these little graves have been in my
Well-
head since I was old enough to listen.
Well, if you want to tell them, go right ahead.
Well, the
It's
story
fam-
that I have heard,
family
these are
history.
children of your father.
Yes, I know they are.
They are your brothers and sisters.
My brothers and sisters.
And the story that has been in our family was that James W. married Olivia Beatrice, and that Olivia Beatrice's mother did not like James. I never have known why,
I don't know why either.
but she didn't like him.
Mother never talked about it.
Well, we've been told that she put a curse on him.
This is the child, Ruby, that Daddy warned till the day he died.
Oh, because she lived 2 years.
That was the only
Girl.
The only
The
girl.
rest of them are boys.
Until I was born.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And
And she died at Christmas time, December 21st,
Oh, wow.
1919.
well, what we were told was that Mary or
Nenny,
Olivia Beatrice, what did they call her?
Mother B.
B. Okay, that B's mother put a curse on them and said that they would never have any children as long as they lived in the state of Georgia. Those kids, they'd never have children that lived past the age of 7.
But they did, because my brother was born here.
Okay, but then they left, didn't they?
They left when he was about 2 or 3 years old,
Right.
because they moved to Carolina in 1926.
Okay.
Then I was born the next
Okay.
year.
Now, the other rumor that I've heard swirling around here, just in the last couple of years, and I can't even remember which of my cousins told me. I asked Mary Alice last night, and she couldn't remember. But your parents were so distraught over losing all these kids that they tried to break the curse by burying, I don't know which one of these children, backwards.
Really?
Why they thought that was going to break the curse, I don't know.
Well, you know,
And I
people
don't know
were
if it
pretty
was-
superstitious.
And I've always wondered, do you know what the T in T. Hughes Smith stood for?
What?
Do you know what the T in T. Hughes Smith stood
Thomas.
for? Thomas. Okay.
He was born between me and Leroy.
No, not this one now.
Not
This
that
one died. Only lived one day.
Well, that might have been him. There
'Cause I
was a
have-
child born between my brother and me, and he was
Okay.
2 years older than me. And I was born in 27, so that's who that is.
Okay.
That must be Thomas.
Okay.
There's not another Thomas here, is there? There was a
No,
Thomas.
I've
in the
always
Bible.
wondered if it stood for Tolliver. That's the reason I asked.
I'm pretty sure it's Thomas.
It's probably, I'm sure it probably is.
Jack.
You certainly know more than I do.
Well,
But anyway, we've tried
I had
to.
the old Bible for a while
Yeah.
that had all these names
Okay.
in it.
We've tried to keep it up as well as we could, and I've
Well, it's a
cleaned them
job.
once, but they need to be cleaned again.
When did J.W., your daddy, my grandpa, come and put these tombstones in place?
I don't know. They were here the first time I was ever here. And the first time I was here was in 47, but Cousin June can tell us.
Yeah, because Dad told me that he came back later after he left Georgia and came back and did it.
Well, I do know that these graves sunk, and that's when they put all
the
this rock
The
in
gravel on it.
it, or what it is. But I doubt seriously if they could have afforded
They
Have
could.
done.
to do all that even back then.
It just,
But
I
it
just
was-
can't imagine the heartbreak of going through this.
I don't know
Because
how
of
my
lose- I
mother
don't know how she
survived.
I don't either. I cannot imagine losing one baby, much less losing all of these.
And his is, well, it's almost rubbed off. Grandpa's death.
Yeah, it didn't get cut in there
He
as
died
deeply.
in 47, I believe.
Mhm. All right, now this is Sid. This is another child of WW and JL's. Did you know about him?
Sid, yeah, I've heard that
He only
name
lived
before.
2 years.
I've heard
or
that
1
name
year, 2
before.
years.
I don't know how many children they had. A bunch.
A bunch.
Cause see, I knew,
bunch.
I knew Ernest. We called him. We didn't call him Ernest. Did we call him Uncle Buck? Maybe. I had 2 Uncle Bucks.
Okay.
Because Aunt Margie's husband was Uncle
What
Buck.
happened to him? Do you know?
Ernest?
Yeah. Because he was young
No,
when
that's
he
a
died.
different one. That's a Hughes. This was a
Yeah.
Smith.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
talking
okay.
about.
Okay.
And I don't know if he's buried here or not. I would think he would be
Well, we'll
because
see.
he was
We'll keep looking.
WW's son.
This
But
is
maybe we'll
Ruby
find
Agnes.
him.
This is Ruby. And,
Who?
Ruby Agnes. This was another of Julia L's.
Born in
WW's.
1896. That's
Yeah.
the year Mother was born. So that's old. Didn't live very old.
No, a lot of these didn't live very long. All right,
She was
Ernest.
9 years old.
Ernest is the son of J.W. and Mary Elizabeth.
Uh-huh.
All
I
right,
hope
now-
you got a really good picture of that over
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. I had
'Cause I
to
have
scrub on
trouble
that.
with them.
It was
Remembering.
bad shape. All right, this is Mary A. Courtney.
Is that my great-grandmother?
Mm-hmm. And I have searched, and I think the A stands for Askew.
What?
Askew.
How would you spell that?
Askew, I think is the way it was spelled in the census record.
But don't I have an Elizabeth, Mary Elizabeth?
Yeah, that's Mary Elizabeth.
Oh,
This is
that
her
was-
mother. This
Oh,
is
I
Mary
see.
Elizabeth's mother.
Mhm.
This is a Courtney. This
Yeah.
is the lady that was married to John B. Courtney. And I don't know where he's buried. I
So
think
that's
he's
her
probably
daughter there.
correct.
Well, look at the dates,
1818 to 1895.
95.
Okay.
you know what?
What?
There's the famous Kate over there.
Yes, it is.
There's what?
There's the famous, the
That's
famous
Kate.
Kate.
And her daughter's to her left, Mary. Now this one right here, this is Walter Hughes. This is another son of James.
These are old, aren't
Yeah.
they? They've been here 100 years,
Mm-hmm.
110 years, some
Mhm.
of them.
We've been coming out here since before the turn of the 20th
Chester.
century.
I have an uncle.
Yep, this is Chester May. This is a girl, and this is another
That-
daughter of
the girl.
W.W. Chester May. She's another one of Julia's daughters, and she only lived a year.
Yeah, I remember them talking about her, but I kept thinking it was a man,
Mm-mm, it's a little
a
girl.
male.
And then this is Henry.
Now, how many children did Grandpa have, WW?
We'll have to go back and look. I want to say 10 or 11. I may be wrong.
It was a
but
lot
I
of them.
think that's right.
Well, see, is Aunt Bertha buried out here?
Who?
Aunt Bertha?
No, she's not. I don't know where she's buried. She's buried somewhere, I think, in DeKalb County. All right, this is, and this one I want to get a picture of today because I haven't
I'm gonna
taken.
come back to my still camera and take a lot of pictures.
This is Courtney. This is the only baby that my grandmother lost. All of her kids lived to adulthood, which just, to me, is phenomenal,
How about
except for him. She told my cousin, Mary Alice, that this was the prettiest baby she ever had. And she had
that?
14.
Was it a male or female?
It's a boy. James
Courtney.
Courtney was his name.
James Court.
And he only lived about 2 months, 2 or 3, from October to December.
Mm.
And that's all we have on him.
And there's Kate Hughes there.
Yeah, this is Kate. This is our wonderful Kate who was murdered,
She was
his daughter.
his daughter.
And he's the one that stood on the scaffold with her husband when they hanged him and
Yeah.
told him that his bones would not lie next to hers. They wouldn't lie within a mile of her bones.
How about that?
And he stood his ground because Mary
It-
Elizabeth wanted
It
to
was
give in.
1912.
1912.
Now the question is, the other picture, who you talking about again?
Over here, Sadie I. Camp and Starling W. Camp. They're right here in our plot. But who are they? Obviously, she must have been attached somehow, I would think.
Who
Maybe
is that in that one?
this is Susie.
Who?
Susie Hughes.
Susie
Um,
Hughes.
John and Nancy's oldest girl. But what the mystery with that one is, you notice down there at the bottom it says mother.
Yeah.
She never had any children
Did you know of?
that I know of. But there is one little mystery because in one of the census records, she's listed as taking care of the family and living in the household with her parents and her is Delia J., who was the youngest daughter, and an Irene Hughes, who was listed as a granddaughter. Now, who did Irene belong to? Did she belong to Julia or did she belong to Susan?
You'll never know.
We'll never know. And I've never found another reference to her. I don't know what happened to Irene. And then the other one is this one. Who is Herschel McDonald? And why is he buried in the Hughes plot?
It's
Don't
sunken
know.
up.
if you can get around to the back, Nikki, of Susan's, there's information on that stone on the back.
There is.
It's just maybe hard to get to because of that wall.
Well, this looks like somebody in
All right, now
Florida.
this is Renee.
These are the English. Now, there
Right.
was a Renee in
That's her.
Daddy's family. No, there's
W.W. and Julia's daughter that died in childbirth.
English.
English. She married John English. And she
She
died in
married-
1921, and he didn't die till 1974.
My dad talked a lot about Renee.
We have one picture of her. Nikki, I think.
I've
Didn't
never
you send
seen
me
a
a picture of
picture.
baby Renee. Renee Elizabeth. Yeah, she lost
And
her
who
baby.
did she belong to?
She was W.W. and Julia's youngest, one of the youngest daughters, if not the
So
youngest.
that was Daddy's sister.
1902.
He had a
Yeah,
sister named
yeah,
Renee.
that's her.
That's her.
That's her.
Yeah, I'd like a picture of that too. Get up here. Or get one.
Did we look at this side? No, we've skipped over this little row too. We got to go to it.
What is that emblem there?
Masonic.
I've seen it
It's a
before.
Masonic emblem. That's Uncle Charlie. I remember him.
You do.
I was about 9 years old when he died, but I remember Uncle Charlie.
You know,
This
Grandpa
is
was
the Uncle Charlie that's in the picture.
Grandpa was a Mason too.
Oh yeah.
Is that Charles Nixon?
Yes, this is Charles
The one
Nixon.
in the military uniform?
Yes, he's the one that's in the military uniform.
Stand behind us.
His parents
Oh.
on the
Mother and father.
step.
Oh, that one right there.
Yeah. And he never married. He fell in love with a lady named Lucy. And before World War I, he came to her and asked her to wait for him. And she didn't do it. She married somebody else. And I think her name was Lucy Cato, and she married somebody named Humphreys. And when he got back, she divorced the other guy, and she was with him their whole lives, but he would never marry her. And he hired her to help take care of his mother and daddy. And when he died, he worked for the city of Atlanta. And when he died, he left his pension to my grandmother, Mary Melissa.
How about that?
And Mary Melissa was so kind-hearted, she knew how much Lucy loved Charlie, that her plan was to give Lucy the pension. But Lucy didn't know that. And Lucy, after Charlie died, went to the bank and was able to clean his checking account and savings account out and took the money that was supposed to have gone to Mary Melissa. And when dear mama found out about it, she was so mad she wouldn't let her have a pension. And I think Lucy moved on to South Carolina because I found some records on a Lucy Humphreys up there that fit the time period. And she's the only Lucy, it's either Lucy Cato or Lucy Humphreys that I've been able to find in the census record. So I have a feeling that that's probably where she went.
I hope this tapes really well.
Okay, now you know
That's
who
a
this
lot
is.
of history there.
This is my great-grandfather and great-grandmother, Mary Elizabeth,
That's Mary Elizabeth.
Courtney
Courtney
Hughes, and James W.
That's our connection.
That's our connection right here.
Mm-hmm.
And
I got
well,
a
actually,
picture
our
of that.
connection is right there with John and Nancy. That's where it really starts.
Yeah.
But I have grown. Of course, I never knew this man because he died in 1921. But my admiration for him has grown leaps and bounds, doing the history on Kate and finding how strong he was and how much he loved his daughter.
Oh, he did.
And the things that were in the paper about what he said to Robert Lee, and just made my heart swell. Just made me know that I come from good stock. Even though it might be poor as church mice, we're good folks. So, and of course, here's Julia. And she played a very critical role in that party too,
She did.
because she is the one that Kate ran to when she left
Yeah, she
Robert
was living
Lee.
with them.
It was at her house that the murder occurred,
Yeah.
over on Lee Street in Georgia.
Is it Lee Street?
In West End. Sure was. 201 Lee Street. Yeah. Matter of fact, we probably crossed over because where that house was is now Expressway. So we probably rode over where her house was, or we were very close to it.
Everything changes.
Unfortunately, it does.
Let me ask you a question.
Yes, she is.
Now, how many? I understand that Uncle Pete had a lot of wives.
I heard he was married 7
This
times.
is Eddie Bell. This is her, right here.
That must have been his first wife, probably.
Yes, well, I think so, because she died in 1913.
Mm-hmm.
And I need to get a picture of this one. This is one of the ones I don't have in my. I have a cemetery book. Nikki, do you keep a cemetery book?
His name was Myers. We called him
Yeah.
Uncle Pete.
Milton Myers.
Milton Myers.
Milton
That
Myers.
sounds right.
I just don't know it. We don't have much light out here today, so I don't know how well. I really need to work on.
And there, the Browns way down there on the end.
Oh yes. Now let's see who else is in here. Now these, I don't know about these either. I don't know if they are ours. Nobody does. Breedloves. Have you ever heard of breedloves? I don't know if this is just a random one. We've got to get down here. We had a big old branch hanging over the Hughes plot last summer, and we were worried to death about it because if somebody had been underneath it and it fell, it would have killed them. It was
Oh,
huge.
yeah.
And then I worried all winter that it was going to fall and break a tombstone.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we came out here last year, and it had fallen and missed everything.
How about that?
So, and then over here, we don't know who this is either. I don't know if they are ours or if this is just another random one. Harrisons. You ever heard any Harrisons?
Harrison?
Alice M. Harrison and Ernest L. Harrison. I don't know. I don't know if they belong to us or not. Nobody seems to. Because Mary Alice.
But they're here.
Yeah, they're here. It's just like this one and the McDonald. I don't know who.
Looks like this is a different plot here.
Yeah, it is. It is. And
You
I don't know if it has anything
that's
to
probably
do.
a child down there.
But yeah, I'm sure it must be. Let's see.
There's 2 children.
What does that say, Nikki?
And that's been done the same way the others were done.
From what brought me
really?
out here to begin
So,
with.
well, they look like they're near stones.
They are. And we take good care of them because we loved every one of them so much.
I'm fine.
This is a wonderful family, I'll tell you that. Still don't know who that is. When we come out here in the summertime, there are chairs all over. Oh, this tree lives forever. It's just,
I hope so.
it shades us every year. We've set tables up all along the
Those
fence.
stones are in great shape.
Well, these are new, and we've just added. We came out here about a month ago, and I had a cousin, Marion Spencer's son, that died, and they had him cremated.
Mm-hmm.
And they brought him out here, and Mary is in the process of having a stone made to put him here with. She just buried his ashes at his daddy's feet.
Mm-hmm.
And this little girl is a distant relative. I'm not real sure how.
She didn't live very long.
No, she was beaten to death by her mother's boyfriend.
Oh,
from
my
what I
gosh.
understood. So that was a real sad
Had to be.
case. Now this is the other one that I, for some reason, here's Robert Ernest Smith. You remember that one? That's one of,
Why is he way over here?
I don't know, but he is.
That's my uncle Ernest.
Exactly. That's
Died in 1975.
He lived up,
that's Papa's brother.
what?
That's Papa Smith's brother. That's his.
Who?
That's your uncle.
Yeah, he was my
J.W.'s
uncle.
brother.
I remember him.
I do too.
Okay, now tell me who this baby is. Fannie
Well,
Luella
I know that is.
Powers.
Yes.
My aunt married a Powers.
Right.
Aunt,
Is that Betty? Is that, what's her name? Willie Ruth or Betty Ruth?
Betty Ruth.
Betty Ruth is still alive
Yeah, I know.
because Mary Alice talks to her.
But
Was that her child?
I never knew that she ever had any children.
I don't know. Yeah, I think she
No,
did.
because that'd be, look, she wouldn't have been old.
1923?
She wouldn't have been old enough.
So was it Willie Ruth and whoever?
Betty Ruth and brother were children of Aunt Ruth Powers, who was Daddy's sister.
Okay, and was
She
her
married
husband's first name
Charlie
Charlie
Powers.
Yes.
And this must have been a child they
Oh,
lost.
theirs. Okay. Well, I
That's
need
the
to
only
write that
only
down.
person it could be.
Okay.
I only knew that they had 2 children, so this must have been a third one. But she would have still been having children in 1923. He worked for Ivy's. He was an interior decorator.
Oh,
You should have known him, maybe.
I probably did.
And
when I
then
was a
he
child.
started. He worked out of his home. He was married twice. I visited in his home many years ago. He
Okay.
lived in Mara, Georgia.
Okay,
Only one
yeah.
time was I down, and that was after Aunt Ruth died. And I thought she would be buried down here. I don't know where she's buried.
I don't know where she's buried either. As a matter of fact, I think that was one of the questions I asked Mary Alice to ask Betty Ruth if she knew. All right, now.
Yeah, I remember when
I don't.
he
this-
died.
I don't know who this is, or if that's a footstone for. I don't think it's a footstone
No,
for
that's
Richard.
Joe Cool.
Joe Cool. I don't know who that is. It has somebody related to Doris Brown Smith's
Oh.
family. I don't know. All right, Richard Walter Brown.
Mhm.
All right, I tell you what. Let's go from. I don't want to jump around. Let's go by generations. That'll make it
Okay.
easier in my head.
Oh.
All right. Whoa! Be
Watch
careful
your
right
step.
there. This is where I'm
It's
saying
just
you gotta be
rocky. I'm
careful.
fine.
All right. This is. See, they put Leslie,
There's a Leslie
but it's
Brown.
Mary Melissa Leslie, and her
Father.
husband, or we called
Her
him
husband.
Dear Papa and Dear Mama.
Mhm.
And of course, I never knew him. He died in '35. The earliest picture I have of her is standing beside this grave.
Really?
And I'm looking, begging anybody I can find in the family to look and see if anybody has a picture of her when she was younger. I would just be so thrilled to know what my grandmother looked like,
I know.
because I don't know.
Uh-huh.
All
Well,
right.
see, I have one. I only have 2 pictures of Julia.
Well,
You know, and they were.
mhm. But at least you got them.
Yeah.
That's what's wonderful. Now, all of their children are here with the exception. My dad is not buried here. But we have a memorial stone that the family put together
Mhm.
so that they wouldn't be forgotten. The oldest child was Doris.
I remember
Jenny
the
Doris.
name Doris.
That's her.
I remember that name.
She is buried at Westview Cemetery. Daddy is buried up at Arlington Cemetery in Sandy Springs with my mother. So Doris was the oldest. The next oldest son was Steve, and he's right here.
How did the Browns get into the family tree?
Through right here. Because Leslie was a Hughes.
Leslie was a Hughes. Well,
Yes,
see, I
Leslie.
didn't
This
get that
is
straight.
your grandmother's
Sister,
sister.
another
Okay.
sister, Leslie.
And that was Mary Melissa. We
See,
called
I
her
haven't
Leslie.
seen that whole layout.
Well, we'll get it to you.
Well, I think.
We'll have to go home and pull the computer up, and I'll show you my site. I'm sure, though.
well,
Nicky's
Nicky
probably already showed it to you.
He's probably got it
He does.
already. So I
And,
did eventually.
And bless their hearts, they had 14 children. They never owned property till 1930. He'd struggled all of his life.
Well, you know, my mother had 11 children, but she told a friend that she'd been pregnant 14 times. And I remember her having a miscarriage
Yeah.
after my sister was born, because I was older
Wow.
then. I heard her tell a friend that she would never have told any of us. Mother was so private,
Oh, yeah.
most private person in the world.
Well, I think most of them were that way. Uncle Steve never left his mother's side. He adored her. He actually married a lady named Peggy. I don't know what Peggy's last name was. And they were married for several years. But when they married, he told her, we're going to live with my mother. And Peggy said, okay. And I guess she thought, well, we'll be
Never
there for a little
bothered.
while and then we'll move on. Well, after a little while, she got tired of living with her mother-in-law.
Mm-hmm.
And she told Steve she wanted an apartment of her own. And he said, okay. And he went out and got her an apartment and set her up in the apartment and put her in it, and then turned around and went home to his mother.
He was a mother's
He would
boy.
go and see her every day, but he would never stay there. He said, I told you I was going to live with my mother. I'm taking care of my mother.
I know.
Well, when I mean, this was for years and all the way to 1966. So when Steve was living with her, with my grandmother when he died, and she had already written a will and left her house to him because he was the one of the 14 that was
Who took
caring
care
for
of
her.
her.
And everybody was in agreement with that. There was
Yeah.
no problem.
Mhm.
But because he preceded her in death and left no will, my daddy had to go to the Fulton County Courthouse steps and buy my grandmother's house back so that they wouldn't put her out in the street.
Mm.
So Daddy bought the house back for her.
Well, there seems to be a development over there.
There is. It wraps all the way around.
How long has that been there?
Probably 5 or not many, 5 or 6
I
maybe.
don't believe it was here
no,
before.
no.
when
This
I
used to be
was here.
totally. You never saw anything but
It was
woods
all
up here.
woods.
All right, then over here is Charles Jackson Brown,
Mm-hmm.
and he is the one. I think his his birth date on his stone is wrong. Is there any way to correct birth dates on a stone, or do you have to have the whole stone redone?
You'd have to have it read.
Well, we need to change the 23 to 21.
I don't think that would matter.
But
You
it
know,
needs to be fixed. I don't know what we're going to do about it. But he is the one that I'm trying to find out if he won the Silver Star. That's the Silver Star man.
Mhm.
Beside him is my Aunt Kate. And she was a character. I absolutely
was.
adored her. But she was named after Kate Hughes Clay.
Uh-huh.
Beside her is Uncle Ben. That's
the
our
one
boxer.
That's the one I met.
Yes.
And he was a fairly young man.
Oh yeah, he was a very, very handsome young man, and he fought so much. By the time he was an old man, he had big old cauliflower
Oh.
ears, and his nose had been
so
broken.
it was
and-
that's what he did.
Oh yeah, much to my grandmother's chagrin. She
I'm
was
sure.
not happy with him being a boxer,
I'm sure.
and she told. I have a newspaper article that was done on her during World War II.
Mhm.
And it showed her all, she was sitting at a table with pictures of all of her boys and her son-in-laws that were fighting. And something was said about him being a boxer, and she said, well, she was a lot prouder of the kind of fighting he was doing now than the kind he did in the ring. Or the kind he did before. I can't remember the exact quote, but she was not one to mince words.
Oh.
When she wanted something
Told it
done,
like it was.
well, when you have that many children, you have to.
I'm sure.
She used to get up every morning and bake 104 biscuits every morning to feed this clan. So, bless her heart. That's all I can say. Now, over here is my Aunt Mary. She was the last one to die. She lived to be almost 93 years of age. And
So we have some longevity somewhere.
yes, we do. She was in her 80s. The women do. The men now die young.
Well, see, Dad lived to be 82, and
Wow,
Mama was
wow.
86.
The oldest, the one that died, that lived the longest, I think, was Uncle Jim. I think he lived probably longer than the rest of them. This is my Aunt Alice and Uncle Shaw.
Now, I've heard of Aunt Alice.
Yeah, she was wonderful.
But now,
And
was
so
one
was
of them
Shaw.
a Hughes?
She was her daughter, another daughter.
Another
All of
daughter?
these are their children that we're looking at.
All their children.
Their children and their children's, some of them are children's children and some of them are wives. Right behind Dear Mama and Dear Papa, the other brand that says Ezra J. and R. Emma, that was James Claude's brother,
His brother.
Ezra
not
and
his
Emma.
Father.
And
These are
I'm
all
having a
Browns
lot
in
of
here.
difficulty trying to find things on the Brown side. I
Oh,
haven't
I'm
found
sure
much.
you do.
at
That's
all.
like hunting Smiths.
Yeah, but theirs is just really, really, I don't know what they did. And I could never get my daddy to talk about them much.
Mhm.
When I'd say, well, who are we and where are we from? And he'd say, oh, we're just a bunch of horse thieves.
Maybe he didn't
And
know.
make a joke. I think he knew something that he wasn't sharing that they were not proud of. I know that Ezra spent some time in jail. That's all I've been able to get out of some folks. But we'll see. Over here, beside Ezra, is John. That was another brother of my dad's, another son of Mary, of Leslie's. And he and my Uncle Jim and my daddy all laughed alike.
They did.
And my Uncle Jim has a son named Barry, And when he laughs, I can hear my daddy laugh. And
Really?
I guess that's the reason I love him so, because it's a little
I'm
piece
sure.
of my dad.
I'm sure.
They call it Big John.
A lot of people called him Big John.
Yeah, don't push that.
Yeah. And this is his second wife, Burl, and she's still with us. We're very grateful. We have 3 of the wives left. That's the only connection we have still living to
Well,
this.
do they live in this area?
Yes, they do, and they're here every summer.
They come. She's born in, well, she's.
She was actually born in England. She's English. And I haven't had a chance, but I want to sit down with her and get her to tell me what it was like to be in World War II, because she was there.
Wow. You know, it
And I
was
can't
terrible.
imagine.
She's
And we
born
also,
at
well,
28.
on the other side of this,
She's almost the same age I am, so she was a teenager.
yeah, so she
Then.
will have vivid memories.
Yes,
We
she
also have one of the 3 that's left.
would. Well, did she marry a
German.
soldier?
She married a soldier and moved over here, and then they divorced, and then she met John. And
So it was a
And-
second marriage for
yes,
her.
and John's first wife, the mother of his children, died from like a cerebral hemorrhage.
Oh.
He woke up one morning and she was dead in bed next to him, and left behind a little 2 boys and a girl. And Tracy, the girl, was
You know,
probably not less than. I don't think she was 5 years old. Maybe she was, but she was young. And so Burl is really the only mother that Tracy's ever known. And Burl was a wonderful mother to those children.
and she was English.
She's English. Matter of fact, she still has her green card. She's never become an American citizen. I don't
Well,
understand
that's
that,
like
but she
Minnie.
hasn't.
My grandmother never did either.
You know, I don't know why, but that's okay. That's her choice.
You know, she went to Australia when she was in her 70s.
Oh my!
And she took Aunt Margie's oldest son Aunt Margie's oldest son was by Daddy's cousin, because Aunt Margie was married twice.
Wow.
And then they had to pay a lawyer to go to Washington to get her back over here, because she was not an American citizen. She never, and I guess she got it then. I don't know.
Mhm.
She was contrary,
I can
very
believe that.
contrary.
All right, back here is my Uncle Jim, who I dearly, dearly loved. I always, matter of fact, I have told Aunt Jean when I was a little girl, I thought if anything ever happened to my mother and daddy, I wanted to go live with them. They are just, they were the most loving,
They were good to you.
sweet, wonderful family. And this is my cousin Bonnie, who I consider almost like a sister.
Hmm.
These are her parents. And Jean is still with us, and we just absolutely adore her. She's cantankerous as she can be.
Where does she
Of course,
live?
they live out in Snellville, Georgia, which is east of here. But they are here every year. Now, back here, Robert W. and Shirley Smith are the children. He is the child of Doris
I've
and
heard
Charlie Smith.
was-
Jenny Doris.
Was Doris a Brown?
Yes.
She
was
married a
around
Smith?
first. This is one of her. Yes, this is one of her children, and his wife. And behind them, I'm trying to think. This is where I get foggy, and forgive me if I make a mistake. James David Smith is in this family. He may be the son of Shirley and
Well, he
Robert.
was a
I'm not
musician,
sure.
evidently.
Huh?
He was a musician.
Yes.
There's
Yes,
there.
he was.
G Clef.
And then Shandy Elaine, this is another part of Doris's children's. This was might have been a great-granddaughter of hers. And then over there is a granddaughter. This is Barbara. Barbara Jean. She was again, she was again. And have we missed some? No, I don't guess we have. She is part of, Doris was her grandmother.
Someone was just recently buried right here.
Yes, that is Ben Brown's first wife. And we just don't have the stone in yet.
There's some more.
Joe Ben, huh?
Is-
Yeah,
Is that fairly
Yeah.
recent?
yeah. She died within this year.
Mm-hmm.
Her daughter is Joe Ben. Beautiful. And she told me that people used to say that she looked like Kate Hughes Clay. And when I got that picture, I could see it. She's in her 70s or close to 70 now, and absolutely still a beautiful, striking woman.
Now, which lady did you say I look like?
You look like Mary Melissa
Mary Melissa.
to me.
Well,
particularly from your eyes
I
up.
don't know if I have her picture or not.
Well, I do.
We do.
Yeah, I know you
It's-
got it online.
Is that Courtney?
Mary, yes, Mary.
Yeah,
Elizabeth Courtney
I have her.
Hughes.
I've seen her picture. Yeah.
Yeah.
I had forgotten.
Yeah.
I'd
But
love
But-
to know what's
we got a
over
couple
there.
pictures of her. We got a couple pictures of her.
Yeah.
Mhm.
She's the one that's standing on the steps with the army boy
And I want
behind
to see
her.
what,
That's her.
what this one is. But we get out here, all this will be cut down. It'll be
You
so
can't
pretty.
mow it. You have to sling it down, I guess.
Well, we've got some folks that have some big heavy-duty mowers and stuff. We come in here and
Uh-huh.
just clean, clean, clean. All right, this is Leslie Lou. This is my Aunt Lou. She has 2 children, Courtney and Jackie. And
She hadn't been dead long.
no, she died in '98. So,
Leslie Brown.
Leslie Lou, we called her Aunt Lou. Loved her dearly. Just an amazing family.
Oh, they're
I don't
all
know
buried.
what this is. What is this one?
Not too long ago either.
Okay. See, I don't know who this is.
Russell.
Oh,
That's the Navy. That's the Korean.
Norma
That's the
Jean.
recent.
Walter J. Russell.
That's the Korean War there.
71, 99, and 84.
Yeah.
I don't know who that is. Oh, wait a minute. George Raymond Berry. Wait a minute. We hadn't even looked at the Cheryl and Berry plot. We got to do that. I wonder if that's part of them.
Must be.
Matter of fact, Mary Alice asked me something about Raymond Berry. This family used to be opticians, and they had a shop in downtown Atlanta, and the family would always go to them to get glasses.
Now, let me ask you some questions.
Okay.
Because when I was down here, we went down there.
Yeah, you can.
Found some older grave sites. I mean,
It must
real
have
old.
been
Yeah.
you and Andy.
Me and Andy went down there. Matter of fact, we went down the hill a good ways because we speculated that it started down the hill somewhere
Because
and
those
then
were older.
moved up here. Yeah.
Well, see, the story, I was telling Marion, the story that I've always heard is that there were slave and Indian graves down there. They would never let us, when you're here in the summertime, of course, all this is all grown up, they'd never let us go. The girls were not allowed to go back down in. The boys would go tromping. But during the wintertime, the last time I was out here last year in February, when it was cold and all the leaves were off, we walked it. We walked the whole fence to see what was here. And there's not really a whole lot down there. There may be some fieldstone type graves. And there are
You want-
fieldstone graves right there at the
Do
front.
you want to walk down there?
I'm going to. I'm going to put this up first.
Yeah.
I want to walk down and see.
Well, there's
Just,
one over there I want to see also. But
Yeah.
I'm going to
Yeah.
put this up now.
that's an
This may be
interesting
the
one.
one that's one of the oldest ones that's in here. I'm trying to remember. I found one time that was really, really old, that was still readable. And I can't remember. It might have been this one, because that's an old stone. And see, here's another one that's got to have been here a long time. That's just a fieldstone.
Oh, there's 2 or 3 over in here.
Yeah, there's some. Andy and I went down there a good ways.
Well, I mean, there's some right in there.
There's 2 right here.
But those have stone. They're markers.
See what that one says. Whoops.
And here's just a rock, and this must be one here too. Probably more in here than you realize.
Oh yeah, I'm sure of that.
Oh, here's another rock. So,
See if you can figure. I wish we brought some paper that we could have done a little bit of rubbing just to get a date. 'Cause that's unreadable to me. Can you see anything on that one?
I'm going to put this down in a minute.
I think I got a pencil. If we can find a sheet of paper, I don't know if it's too
Here's what
thick.
I want to do. I'm going to run my tape out in a minute. I want you to now play like we're leaving.
Okay.
And I want you will talk, I'm not recording, play like we're leaving, and I want you to tell everybody why they need to come here.
Oh
Why
goodness.
it's important.
Why is it important? Why didn't you tell me this before? I don't know off the top of my
I
head.
want y'all to walk out together like you're leaving, and I'm gonna follow behind you while you talk. And you're gonna walk down the street. It's the end of the story.
What shall we say, Marion? Help me with this now.
well, it's been a delightful morning in the rain.
It has been. It's really not been bad out here at all.
No, it hasn't. It's just damp.
Yeah.
Come on up here near me. We got
I'm
to go
drawing a
this way.
blank. I'm glad you can edit this.
Oh, I get it a lot.
You're going to have to. If I don't end up face down in the tangles.
Then I'm going to get my camera back and I'm going to get a lot of pictures.
Oh, boy.
But I can't carry this 35
No.
pound anymore. It's heavy now.
Now, see that, I don't know if that's just a rock.
No, here's another one. There are
See,
graves all in here.
we think they are too. And
I feel, and there's another one there.
But
They're all
somewhere
over the
in the
place.
back of my head, I kept thinking I had strolled through here and seen a death date of 1812. And I don't know if I'm...
So I saw one 1803 at one time.
Wow.
And my brother and I found it. I'm going to put this down
Okay.
and show you where I think we found it.
Because I've been telling people that this has been a cemetery since before the turn of the 20th century.
Oh, yeah.
But I know we've been coming out here as a family since that time, and the way this picnic evolved was that the men would get up on the 4th of July and come out here and clean, and then the women would come
Bring
at
the
lunch and
food.
bring lunch. And over the years now it has evolved into this family reunion, and we come twice a year, once the 3rd week of June, and then again I think Bonnie told me the other day, we're going to be coming the first weekend after the Super Bowl, if the weather's good, to come out here and clean. We found if we do it twice a year,
You said June the 3rd. Did you
the
mean?
3rd week.
Oh, the
the
third
third
week.
week.
in June. It's
That
not
way-
July the 4th.
No, that way. But you know what? That's only been recently. When I was a little girl, my daddy would get up on the morning of 4th of July and come out here. And they would clean, then he'd come back home and get us, and we'd come.
But now next year, when's it going to be?
It'll be, for the picnic itself is always on the 4th, don't matter what day of
4th
the year.
of July.
And if it's raining and we can't meet here, we go over to New Hope Methodist Church on Moreland Avenue and have our reunion in their fellowship hall. And we've been doing that since I was knee-high to a
How
grasshopper.
about that?
So there's always, we don't let anything stop the reunion. One way or the other, we are together. And it's really the only time of the year that we all try to merge. And everybody doesn't get here, but most of us do. And we don't stay long. We just share our food and sit down and talk a little bit. And
Well, I
everybody
guess
gets up and leaves.
it's time for us to go.
I guess it is. So let's head out. I just wish everybody would learn to love it
I
the
know.
way we do and cherish what's here and take care of it in the future. Because if we don't do it, nobody's going to do it.
You're absolutely right.
But like I said earlier, we have recovered. We decided that it wasn't just our plots weren't important, that the whole cemetery is important. And so we have slowly pushed nature back here. And now, next time, we'll go down that side and push, because there's some graves over there. And it's amazing. And you can tell it sometimes somebody really cared about what was
Yeah.
going on, because they've come
They
out here and done
planted stuff.
landscaping. And
And the birds helped,
yes, they
I
did.
believe.
I do believe that too.
But it looks like they have marked off just, each family.
Yeah,
sort
they
of.
did. And that's what's happened even to today. That's what Mary and Spencer Smith, when Spencer died, she came out here and laid claim. This is where I want my family. And she's got enough room in her plot to put herself and her children.
That's right.
And that's the best way to do it. And I said, we just have to be careful. We worry a little bit that there may be some other graves back there that are unmarked. That's the only thing that,
Well, there's nothing you can
concerns
do
us.
about that, really.
no, there's not.
But I really look forward to coming down here next July the 4th.
Oh, please do. I would be so tickled if
if
you all
Nicky
would come.
won't bring me, I'll bring
Well,
myself.
you come up, you call me and I'll come get you.
Oh,
how about
I
that?
could get down here.
Well, you get down here and I'll get you over here. How about that?
I'm pretty independent.
Well, I got that feeling. I think that's one of those traits that seems to kind of flow through this family.
Oh, wait, this is it.
Okay, this plot contains the graves of Delia J. Hughes Sherrill and her family. Delia was the youngest daughter of John and Nancy Scott Hughes, okay? And this is her husband. Now and this is her daughter, Zelma. I found her on the census records, and her husband, Jesse Berry. Earl is a son
I've
of
heard
Delia.
the name Earl Sherrill before.
Okay, this is
somewhere.
his name was William Sims Sherrill. And I found something online that I can't get somebody to respond to me to about Delia that says that she was Delia Jones Hughes and that she was born in Carroll County. I haven't been able to figure that out. But we know she belongs to us because she's up here. Earl's their son. Now, I don't know who Shelby Jean Collette is. I don't have a clue. But she must have a connection somehow. And I don't know who this
She's
is.
just a child. She didn't
Right.
live.
But I mean, who did she belong to? And if Collette is her last name,
Well, that would be her last name.
yeah. And then who is Emily Cheryl Cooper? I don't know who she is.
Well, evidently.
But they are ours. He is ours.
Well, see, she was a Cheryl.
Yeah.
She
So
could have
she's
been
got-
their daughter.
Could have been. I don't know. We need to check.
She's born in 27. When would they have been having children?
Mm.
That'd be her grandparents.
Yeah, those would be her grandparents. Maybe she's Earl's
That
child.
could be Earl's child. Could be.
But he would have died. She would have been really young because he died in
But then
34.
both to be buried here, she certainly
But
was
there's
some-
a reason.
I feel like it was her grandparents over there.
Yeah, I think they are too. But they had two other boys. They had Raymond, and they had Harvey. I'll have to go back and look at census records. But
He
And
was
Earl.
he was the son
yes, Earl
them.
was the son
Mhm.
for sure. But there are two more sons that I know of.
that you just don't have.
They're just not here. And then Zelma was their baby.